All right, best position group on offense. What say you, Lachey?
I think we're in agreement with this. I don't even think it's close. Tight end. Ferguson, Arroyo, Halls, like these dudes are balling. I know we didn't get to one of your stock downs, but Harold Fenton, I do wish I would have saw a little bit more from him. For some reason, I don't honestly think they use his skill set well, too, because like I felt like Arroyo and Ferguson were getting the passes that kind of highlighted their skill set, where they kind of had Phantom playing more H-back. And I think that's because teams want to see, is he willing to block? And I actually saw him be willing to. Now, that's not going to be his greatest strength at all. He's a guy that just knows how to get open. He's not going to kill you athletically, but he just has a feel on how to get open. And once you get the ball in his hands, he just makes plays. And I feel like they didn't do enough for that. And again, you're not supposed to like scheme stuff up for any specific player, right? But they put guys in certain positions. They want to see how they react. I think for him this week, I think everybody knows he can get open. They wanted to see, how can we use him on offense? Can he be an H-back, right? Can he be in the backfield and lead block and stuff like that? And that's what they kind of had him doing a lot this week. I don't think they really showed his skill set the best in Mobile.
Yeah, 100% agree. Tight end is the best position down here on offense, just in terms of like year on year. O-line, solid class, but like these tight ends, I think a lot of these guys will end up top 100. Fannin, though, I mean, so if you don't know who this is, Bowling Green tight end, he's only 20 years old. He's a junior coming out. He had 1,555 yards last year. Let me repeat, 1,500 yards at tight end. I can't remember a tight end ever having that many. He had 17 catches for 213 yards in his final game in his career against Arkansas State in their bowl game. 117 catches this year. I mean, he was Bowling Green's offense, but he's 6'3", 238. I mean, he's tight end kind of in name only. There are wide receivers bigger than him at the NFL level right now, right? So he's going to have an uphill climb to a role at the next level and probably going to be forced into, like you said, an H-back-ish role. He's just not going to be your starting inline tight end. But even with all that, he's a little stiff, man. Some of the routes, he can run a corner exceptionally well. He can run a post exceptionally well. He can run an over exceptionally well. And he plays through contact at that size very, very well. And obviously, like with the ball in his hands, 34 broken tackles this past season. The guy's dynamic. But running like a stick nod or like a whip or like a choice, it's just not what you want. So it's just a lot of these guys down here are better than him in that regard. So I do agree that this has kind of been a rough go of it for him, and probably it's just going to be off a lot of boards, right? A lot of people are just going to be like, this isn't for my offense. Why do I want to shoehorn a role in for a second tight end? I just think a lot of people will kind of look at him and be like, I don't know exactly what to do with them, but someone can probably take advantage of that skill set. The other guys down here, though, you mentioned Arroyo. I think Ferguson, Terrence Ferguson from Oregon has been fantastic. I think Nathan Taylor from LSU could very well be the highest drafted of these guys because he's
really. You think he's going to be in front of Arroyo?
Well, I just think he's the most complete of those three. Like from an inline blocking perspective, the other two are kind of like receivers that have started to trend towards being tight ends. But Mason Taylor's been more of a tight end from day one. So we'll see, because NFL teams still do value the inline part of it. But Arroyo's been, if I had to pick one who's been the most impressive this week, it's been Elijah Arroyo. Yeah. That guy can move.
The way he gets in and out of breaks, it's literally like a receiver. It's kind of like Evan Ingram when he was coming out of Ole Miss, right? So it'd be interesting to see what his role is. And the thing is, he's not a small dude. So like, he'll be able to get in the way of people. I'm not saying he's going to be a killer, right? Because even Mason Taylor's not a killer, right? But he's willing to do it, right? So that's what it comes down to. Like, are you going to be willing to do it? Or does he just find the Evan Ingram role? And, there's been guys that have done that. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart. My guy in San Diego for the Chargers, Antonio Gates, he wasn't a killer blocking, right? Like he essentially just knows how to get open. And I think Arroyo is even athletically better than him when he was coming out. So like there'll be a niche for him. I would not be surprised he goes at the top of the second though, because he's really impressed down here in Mobile.
All right, what's the best position group on defense?
Yeah, this one we're in agreement with. I don't even think it's close, and it's literally, even if you took out Mike Green, Oladejo, and Ezra Rocco from the first group, it would still be this position group, and it's the defensive line just because of what's on the second group. There's literally probably 6 top 50 guys in that second group alone. When you talk about the defensive line, right? Shamar Stewart, from what I've heard, is done enough. He's going to leave Mobile. He was dominant. He was dominant yesterday. Watching Nolan is a guy that I don't mean you talked about. I was surprised that he actually showed up because there was late buzz of him being maybe even a top 10 pick. Now, again, I think he'll go in the 15 to 20 range. We talk about an explosive D tackle that can get into the backfield and create havoc. He did that a lot on the first day. I felt like yesterday wasn't as good for him compared to the first day. But he's a guy that probably after Mason Graham is going to go not too far after in regards to the draft. Jared Ivey, I thought had a really good day. I was interested to see him because you talk about
I love Jared Ivey, dude.
What it's supposed to look like, right? The long arms, right? The long frame. Like that's what Jared Ivey is essentially. And then I think Princely got banged up a little bit yesterday, but I know there's a lot of buzz on him because he can bend really well as well. And then you got Kyle Kennard in that group as well, like TJ Sanders. Like that group is deep in the second group. And we didn't even talk about Walker or Cam Jackson, the interior guys at defensive tackle. So the D-line group is the best group here overall. It's not even close.
Yeah, I think there's at least a half dozen top 50 guys along this defensive line.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, just in the second group, there might be 6 top 50 guys.
Yeah. So it's easily the best. I'm trying to think of some names we haven't touched on yet that I've been impressed by. I mean, I like a couple of the stout interior DTs, the Aeneas Peebles from Virginia Tech. In the team periods, that guy has been living in the backfield. He's 6 foot tall, 289. He is a pure penetrator. I mean, that's a guy that think of, gosh, why am I blanking on his name? The Rams and how they used their second round DT. Yeah, like a Kobe Turner. There you go. I mean, like him, Kobe Turner, and what's his face are very similar that they just drafted in the second round.
Oh, Fisk, Braden Fisk.
Yeah, Fisk. So a scheme like that, if he goes and just can create havoc, the guy is capable of doing that. Omar Norman Lott from
that was another guy I was about to bring up. Yeah.
Very much in a similar mold. But, dude, I do love Jared Ivey. I think he might have the best hands of anyone down at the Senior Bowl. It's just like he's so quick with them, replacing them. You just see him getting that two-hand swipe. He hits it more often than not. So I love his tape. I had him as top 50 player coming in, and I don't think I'll be changing that after this week. All right. Yeah. Someone switching position. Oh, what do you?
I was going to say he'll probably sneak into the back of the first just because of how big he is and the way he is.
Oh, he's like a perfect Chiefs defensive lineman. I feel like that guy feels like a Steve Spagnuolo D end who can kick inside. Like he's loves those guys. So that's the team that I've kind of been mocking him to over the past few months. All right, someone switching positions to keep track of here.
Well, I was going to say Femi Oladejo because he played mostly interior backer, but he played on the edge this year.
I like that call.
We talked about him earlier. We talked about him earlier in the way he's been able to do almost everything at the Senior Bowl, right? Rush on the outside, rush on the inside, cover linebackers in space. So he'll be a guy that, and again, as this process goes on and he continues to put out the tape like this, the Senior Bowl, we'll see what today brings. I would not be surprised if, because of his skill set, teams at the back of the first, early second, look at him and say, this is a guy that has a unique skill set that we'll be able to use, in multiple ways. Now it's going to take a defensive coordinator like Dan Quinn to not just pigeonhole him to one position because he is that good. He is that gifted athletically, but he's a guy that's going to be able to move around for your defense. So I put him there, even though essentially this year he did play on the edge.
Yeah, I do think those type of guys, and like a Jalen Walker from Georgia, people are going to covet them even more in the coming years. Like they will be highly sought after because everyone wants, their own version of that, because it just makes you so much more multiple as a defense to have a guy like that. All right, mine, Gray Zabel, NDSU, left tackle, playing on the interior. Just if it's center, guard, doesn't matter. I think he's a starter day one for you. All right, storyline to keep a tab on. What do you got?
I actually want you to go first.
I'll go first. Mine, I love. It's the beef that has continued and is only fomenting more between Eric Galko, the Shrine Bowl director, and Jim Nagy, the Senior Bowl director.
Oh my
These guys, and it's not fake, they hate each other. These guys hate each other. I don't think I'm breaking any ground to say it, but I had this amazing tweet exchange that caught some traction. Jim Nagy tweeted out on Monday, for NFL Draft Media traveling from Dallas to Mobile, it's time to recalibrate your eyes.
It's crazy.
Meaning like, hey, the guys at the Shrine Bowl stink, basically. He deleted it, but not before Eric Galko, Shrine Bowl director, got a screenshot of it and said, no need to put players down like this, Jim. best of luck to the players at the Senior Bowl this week. Incredible stuff. Arif Hassan, wideleftfootball.com, wrote an article breaking down kind of this beef, or breaking down the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl. He wrote one a few years ago about the beef specifically, but it's only getting it's only
getting spicier. I love
it. And I love it. I'm kind of caught in between because I like them both. I obviously have no issues with either, and I love both events. But they definitely, when you talk to them, they want you to pick a side, and so I'm saying,
pick a side and stay there.
It's great.
I'll get into my storyline. It's kind of a guy we talked about earlier, Jalen Milroe, and just his progression throughout this draft process. Again, there's a rumor that supposedly he is going to work with Jordan Palmer, because we talked about this, Mike. A guy that predominantly takes snaps and shotgun. We knew he was going to have some struggle with some quarterback center exchange. His footwork at times is all over the place. And for him, the biggest thing is, can he give us the singles and the doubles, right? The short passes, the intermediate passes. How does he work on getting that accuracy down, right? We've seen projects like Josh Allen have struggles with that. We saw just the other 2 years ago with the Colts, and why am I having a brain fart on the kid's name? Anthony
Richardson.
Richardson, yeah. He had struggles with that, right? The ooh and all plays are there for him when it comes to his mobility and throwing down the field. But we know in the NFL, the singles and doubles win you games, right? You got to be consistent when it comes to that accuracy with the intermediate and short passes. And he has really struggled with that throughout the Senior Bowl, and his footwork as well. So he's a guy that's going to be a project, right? He's a guy that you cannot expect to play in year one, maybe not even year two, to be honest with you. He's going to need some time to really develop and hone in on his skill set when it comes to accuracy issues. Now, guys have been able to fix it, and some guys haven't. So only, time will tell. That's why I think this is a good storyline, because it's something we'll be able to watch in the future to see how it develops.
And in his defense, at the Senior Bowl, they're not running read options. His biggest weapon, why people are going to bat for him so hard, is neutered here. You don't get the threat of the run. So he's not facing the same defenses he'll face when he's actually playing football. Because the guy is in terms of just athletes at the quarterback position, where would you stack him in the realms of Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Anthony Richardson, that we've seen in recent years? Because he's right up there with those guys. I'm not sure he has a natural feel. Like, people are saying, oh, could he play running back? I don't think he has the natural feel like that.
He's not a running back.
But in space, you're just good luck. You're linebacker. You ain't touching him.
But it's not even that you're not even touching him. And if you're a safety, are you going to be able to tackle him? Because he's put together.
Big.
He's a big dude. So when you talk about kind of comparing him to Anthony Richardson, now Anthony Richardson is an alien. He's not as big as him, but he's bigger than Lamar and Jaden. But he's not as twitched up as Lamar, but he's right underneath him, right? When you talk about being an explosive runner, but then he turns into a running back in the open field, and he's hard to bring down if you're a safety or a corner. So again, we know that's there. We know the deep, downfield passing is there on the post and the go routes, but it's his accuracy on the underneath and intermediate throws that he has to work on.
Yeah. All right. Under the radar favorites. Who is a guy that's, and I see yours, and he's truly under.
I can't wait to hear what you say about this one.
He's under everybody.
Yeah.
The guy. So who you got?
Yeah, man. So this guy, I think, measured in at 5'10", 270 pounds, and was a late add, I think, to the Senior Bowl roster. Willie Lampkin. And he had some struggles on day one. Cam Jackson got him with a nice club over. I put that out on X. But since that rep, the man's been holding it down. And this is the reason why he was graded so highly this year. And this is why, if I'm not mistaken, he was an All-American too. Because he's one of the best run-blocking centers in all the draft. Right? Obviously, he's got natural leverage because he's going to be smaller than everybody. But at 270, he's been holding up. I mean, I saw it yesterday. TJ Sanders tried to bull rush him. He knocked him to the ground. He's actually held up since that one rep versus Cam Jackson and held his own. Now, again, he's not going to be most teams' cup of tea because of the measurables. But you talk about a guy that will fight you tooth and nail and get after you. Willie Lampkin, man. I was surprised that, again, when you watch the tape, it looks good, but he's undersized. He's 5'10", 270 pounds. But going against some of these behemoths, when you talk about Deion Walker, you talk about Cam Jackson, how is he going to be able to stand up? He's standing up, and he's held his own out here at the Senior Bowl.
Dude, that rep he talked about against TJ Sanders, if you haven't seen it, it's on my Twitter. I retweeted it from Brandon Thorne. It was the coldest rep I've seen of anyone out here. He throws him to the ground. He traps him, throws him to the ground, and then immediately steps over him and looks down like,
I was like, yo, I like this dude. I like this. He's got the mental, like kind of we were talking about Walker, like where's his like mental capacity? Like what's his mindset? Like Lampkin's got the mindset. He wasn't gifted by God to have the measurables. It's essentially what it comes down to.
But he is, so he's short, right? 5'10", and the bigger thing to me is 270. 270 is tiny, for a center in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's where he has to play. But even at North Carolina, he played guard, so the center is going to be semi-new to him. But he's going to have to go to basically one of the few teams that's just like pure outside zone, right? You're not.
I'll say it's all zone.
Yeah, he basically has to go to that. There are a handful around the NFL. That's where he's going to go to one of them. But he has long arms, 32-inch arms. I mean, it's not like he's like completely stout. He has the wingspan of an NFL offensive lineman, which again is to me usually more important than pure height, is how long your reach is. Obviously, though, 270 is the difficult number. It's just that's going to be tough to absorb bull rushes. But Aaron Brewer is your best case scenario, or like the guy.
I was about to say Kelsey was what 280 when he came out, right?
Kelsey he ended up getting bigger by the time he was like really doing it in the NFL. He was closing in on like 290s, but so he's probably gonna have to put on 5 to 10.
I would say 10, 15,
yeah. Ideally, 20. But I think he can do it, man. He gets after it. His hands are so good. He fights like heck. It's a guy I'm rooting for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
My guy is in a similar mold, honestly. David Walker, Central Arkansas defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
He is 6 foot, 263, which that's like Aaron Donald, what he was playing at on the interior for Los Angeles Rams. And you watch his tape at Central Arkansas, and it's just like, oh my God, it's not even fair. So it's probably the most dominant FCS tape I've ever seen. He's just toying with guys. Looks like a man amongst boys. And here, kind of hot and cold. Like when he tries moves, when he tries to like rip to the edge, when he tries to like do stuff, it hasn't worked. But when he just says, I'm 6 foot, 263, and with a pretty darn good get off, I'm just going to bull rush shit out of you,
bro.
No one can even come close. He has had bull rushes where just guys are just running backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk to offensive tackles consistently, they'll say the guy they least want to go up against is the tiny or the squat guy with no strike zone to hit him, who can just get underneath their pads every single time. So I'm a fan of his, man. I think that combination has worked. Now he's not going to be for everybody, and I think he's going to struggle to like, hold the edge consistently and separate off blocks and make plays. That's just not going to be necessarily his game. But as a pure third down guy, I think he's going to be good. I just don't see how he's not. He's already like very put together and very good as a bull rusher. So he's my guy that like I'll go to bat for, that he's going to make it in the NFL.
Yeah, really impressed with his speed to power. I was wondering if that would translate from the FCS to Mobile. And like you said, it did. And again, we have natural leverage when you're 6 feet tall. And he just, again, he doesn't look like all the other DNs. He's a little more shorter, squattier, right? But he was able to literally get up under everybody's pass and just walk them back. And I was like, we can teach him how to use his hands. That's natural. You can't teach that. Like the lower body strength to be able to get up under somebody and walk them back. Like you either have that or you don't have it, right? And he has it. So like if he gets with a good coach to really redefine his hands, that way he has a counter off that speed to power, you have something cooking. I think that's why a lot of people have him as a top 50 player, because they're like, well, he was at the FCS level, probably didn't get the coaching that he necessarily needed when it comes to his hand usage and everything. But some of the things that we can't teach is his natural leverage and then his strength off of that leverage with the twitchiness to get off and get up under guys and walk them back to the quarterback.
I'm living in fear of him becoming a Philadelphia Eagle. I'm just going to say it. And making them
because Hunt, I didn't
Brandon
like
Graham
that
replacement.
Hunt pick, but it's worked really well for them. Jalen Hunt's starting to really come on the last couple of weeks.
Because Brandon Graham's like the guy in that mold that gives you
that's a perfect comp.
He's 6'1", like same body type, and just lived as a bull rusher his entire career. did it till he was 35. I think Walker, not to say he's going to be as good as Brandon Graham, but like that's the kind of player you're getting in David Walker.